just a boy. Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am. But right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Ho, ho, ho. Hello, Star Wars fans. You know there's just 288 days until Christmas 2024. Ho, ho. And hello, Leia Rose. Happy Rey Palpatine Skywalker Day to you as well, my friend. Every day that we can celebrate Rey Palpatine Skywalker is a happy Rey Palpatine Skywalker Day. So thank you for that. Brandon, good to see you as well. You know, guys, today we're going to do our predictions for this double header we have tonight. Bad Batch, there are two episodes on cue for tonight. Episode 6 and 7, we have Infiltration and Extraction. What do those mean? What's being infiltrated and who's being extracted? What are we doing? Those are the questions we have before us. And we have a predictions game. And you can see that every time a new episode of a Star Wars show comes out, we try to do this predictions game. It's just for fun for the most part. You can come in and make predictions. What do you think is going to happen? And if you predict as well or better than Santa, you can get your name on the Wall of Fame on that scroller right there at the bottom of the screen, and for an entire week until the next show comes out. So that's episode 5. You see the Wall of Fame there for the folks that predicted as well or better than I did. And also, we have a season leaderboard for anybody that wants to play throughout the season. Your points will accumulate and you can compete to win some Star Wars Santa merch. You know, I've got something here. Look, right there. I've got one of these kind of water bottles. We've got those. We've got, oh, here, hold on. Maybe you want a hat. Maybe one of these cool hats. Maybe you want a Star Wars Santa hat. This way. There you go. I don't know. We have a lot of merch available, and if you do as well, order better than me for the entire season, you can order some Star Wars Santa merch, and I will pay for it, and I will ship it to you. No cost to you whatsoever. And you don't have to be a channel member. You don't have to be a patron. None of that. All you have to do is come in and play the game every week. Do as well or better than Santa on the season, and you too can win some Star Wars Santa merch. So that's how that works. And we'll send you a link and you can pick and all of that. So that's the game. And that's what we do. I'm going to go through my predictions tonight for tonight's double episode. And we'll look at the predictions we have. To play the game, all you need is the link. You need the link to the Google form. There are 10 yes/no questions on it, as well as one open-ended question where you can earn bonus points for your predictions. And you can find that link in the description of this video that you're watching right now. In this description, I've got the prediction form for episode 6, that's Infiltration, and episode 7, Extraction. You can fill out your predictions for both. And if you're playing along to get on the season leaderboard, make sure you're doing both. If you only do one, then you can miss out and forget that there are 2 episodes, 2 forums. I've also posted both of those links to our Discord. You can find that in the Star Wars Santa channel as well as the Bad Batch Spoilers channel. And I've posted it to Patreon. I've posted it to YouTube. I've tried to put it out in all the places so you guys can find those forums and do your predictions. So I think that covers all the bases. There's Star Wars news happening this week. I saw Jason and Bestman talking about some yesterday. I've seen Meg post some fantastic videos this week. As usual, Meg is fantastic. So you can, we will plan to have our show on Friday where we cover that and just other. Oh, you know what? I'm supposed to do this. There you go. Oh, make sure you're liking and subscribing. You know, to participate in the chat here, I have subscriber only. That's to make sure that we don't get bots in here kind of messing with the chat. And if you're subscribed for just 1 minute, you can participate in the chat. So make sure you're doing all the things. That really helps the channel out. Our channel subscriptions have been dropping. Our channel memberships have been dropping. Our patrons have been dropping. Look, people are checking out. That's perfectly understandable. But if you enjoy what we do here and you think you know other folks that might enjoy it as well, I sure would appreciate you sending it out and letting other people know what we're doing here. It really helps out a ton. So do all those things. So that's I think I've done all the required stuff that you have to do on YouTube. But show notes tomorrow about this time. We will do a watch party where we'll go through both episodes. We'll watch them. We'll grade the predictions and discuss the shows. My live reaction. It'll be my very first time watching because the show airs so much earlier. Many of you will have already watched it 1, 2, or 3 times. Who knows? But I'll be watching it my very first time tomorrow about this time. And around 12 p.m., 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time that we're on now. If you want to come watch with us, we'll have a watch party tomorrow. And then Thursday, when I'm able, we like to do community streams, community call-in. And that's for our patrons and our YouTube members. If at all possible, we'll do that again this Thursday. And then Friday, we do a Star Wars News Week wrap-up. And that's when I typically have a guest or 2 with me, and we discuss the news of the week. So everything that's happening in the Star Wars realm, we will talk about it Friday. And if you are one of our members, channel members or patrons, we have a monthly Zoom call where we talk about things that we don't talk about here on YouTube. We can't talk about here on YouTube. And we just visit with each other. That was yesterday. So if you want in on next month's call, you can become one of our patrons or one of our YouTube members. And that I try to do as much as I can to give you value back. And you can join for as little as $1 a month, just $1. And on Patreon, this is where it gets really good. If you join on Patreon, not only do you get the YouTube, the monthly Zoom meeting, you get patron only exclusive material that's there. We've got dozens and dozens of videos out there that are only available on Patreon. And you also have the access to a patron only super chat feature, where you can put in a question or a comment. And if it's appropriate, I will address it directly on one of our live streams. I monitor that Patreon frequently. I watch it and I get notices when anybody posts anything there. So if you post a question in our patron super chat area, I will see it and then we will address that question or comment if it's appropriate on one of our live streams. I try to give you every penny of value available for that $1. Just $1 a month over on Patreon really helps out a lot, you guys. And I appreciate all of those who support at the $1, $5, and $10 levels. We have many folks over on Patreon who have supported this channel for years, where they give $10 a month to support the work we do here on this channel. I really appreciate that. There was some amazing folks who really contribute to make this channel happen. So thank you all for all of that. Okay, that's enough. That's enough of that. Let's get into the predictions. And I think they said, let's see if I can change the format. If I do it this way, I think it's easier for you all. And you can see my little noggin down here in the corner. We can go through these questions. So we've got episode 6. We only have 4 responses at this point. People wait till last minute to see if there's going to be a trailer. Is there going to be a teaser? Am I going to get some sort of clue about what's going to happen? I haven't seen anything. So who knows? All we can do is speculate together and make some guesses, some maybe well-informed guesses if we've been watching, paying close attention. Yeah, RF Gaming says, for just $1 a month, you too can feed an elf. Elves need all of our help due to Santa's working conditions. There are no labor unions at the North Pole. I can tell you that. The elves, they work because they love what they do. And they love what they do, so they work. That's what they do. It's a fantastic environment here at the North Pole, and we don't need, such silly things as salaries and insurance. Who needs all that? Elves don't need it. Certainly not. So here you go. Episode 6, Infiltration. The question is, what's being infiltrated? Who's infiltrating what? There's several ways you could look at that. One is that the Bad Batch is maybe infiltrating to get information from an Empire facility, right? A facility by the Empire. They're infiltrating to go get information about where Tantus is. If you've been paying attention, you know that they only mention the facility, Tantus, not once in context of the show have the Batch or any of the clones mentioned Wayland. Wayland is the planet where Tantus is, and they're trying to figure out, where's this Tantus place? We've been looking and looking. We can't find Tantus on any star charts. Well, that's because it's not a planet, my friends. And they can't find it because they don't know it's the name of a facility on the planet. So Mount Tantus, the Tantus facility, that's where they need to find. So will the Batch, maybe Rex or Echo, or any number of other clones be infiltrating a facility to get that information? And then will Extraction be needing them rescued to get out of there? So infiltration, we're going into an Empire facility. Extraction, we got to get you out. Maybe. What if infiltration is the other way around? What if infiltration is the Empire infiltrating, let's say, Pabu, right? The Empire invades Pabu, and Extraction is getting in and taking your friends, say Phi or Omega, or any number of other residents of Pabu. Extraction is getting them off planet. Maybe it's that. So we don't know. So what do you think? Do you think infiltration is the infiltrating an Empire facility, or do you think infiltration is the Empire invading a city, a facility? It could go either way. It's hard to say. I can't say for sure. And I don't have any information to tell me. If the folks who have seen the screeners, the folks who have this information, nobody's talked to Santa. Santa is sitting on an island of his own in the basement with no sources. I have no sources. So I can't tell you a thing Here, all I can do is make some guesses. I do have a little bit of information, but not a lot. Not a lot. So, question one. This is on every week. For infiltration, will somebody mention following orders? You see, of the 4 responses, we're 50-50 at this point. Some people think yes, some people think no. Following orders, we're infiltrating. We know good soldiers follow orders, and we know that phooey, I just lost his name. Our good friend on the batch, Crosshair. We know Crosshair has used that for why he did what he did. He was just following orders. He thought that the Empire was doing a thing, but they weren't. He thought they were on the one side, but they weren't. He thought they were valued him, but they didn't. So will somebody mention following orders? Maybe they'll mention that the clones who are at Tantus, they're just following orders. You could hear Omega saying that, maybe defending why they need to go to Tantus to rescue their brothers and her sister, right? Will maybe Omega mention, well, they're just following orders. We need to go there and save them. So maybe that will be mentioned, and that'll be part of the infiltration. It's hard to say. The second question, someone will be killed, a non-droid. And what we say is if let's say a TIE fighter or a ship blows up and you don't see them survive, they're dead, right? We know in Star Wars, you could never say for sure, especially in a lot of those cases, right? You get stabbed through, maybe you get cut in half and fall down a shaft to your death. Oh, you're not dead. You're not dead. Not dead yet. I'm feeling much better, right? Not dead yet. So maybe not. But in the case, if we see something blow up, we're going to assume they're dead. We're also, if a clone or a trooper gets shot and they fall, we assume they're dead unless we see them get up, right? So that's someone will be killed. 100% of responses to this point say yes, we think so. Brett can't stay for the stream, but happy predicting. Thank you, Brett. We appreciate that so much. Sabersmith says they're gonna get Wolf, maybe. Yeah, Wolf and Gregor are in play, so we could see them. A droid will be referred to by name. We did see it last week. We know that there's been a bit of a reunion between the batch and what's his name, AZ, right? There's been a bit of a reunion between the batch and AZ, and we have Gonki. And will Omega say something about AZ or Gonki? Again, it's a guess. Hey, Tim's talk. Hey, yo, Santa. Yo, Tim. Oh, good to see you. The Jabbo Radio Show. Thank you for that. Good to see you as well. Yeah, maybe Rex this week. Right. I know that if I were to be a betting man, and we're doing predictions in a game to earn points, if I were a betting man, I would say the probability of Rex being in an episode increases week by week. Whether it's an episode by episode, whether it's in 6 or 7, I'm not sure. But if not, then episode 8, 100%. That's just my bet. I could be wrong, but I think there's a better than 50% chance we do see Rex tonight or in one of the episodes, better than 50% in episode 6. More than that in episode 7, and more than that in episode 8, which is next week. So that's my guess. So a droid referred to by name. This is where Jason Ward gives me such a hard time, because Jason and Bespin both, they get a lot of insider information. They get a lot of leaks and rumors. And they're like, how do I know what somebody said? They're finding out story points. They're finding out insider information. They don't have They don't go through the script and say, okay, looking to see, do I see in the script somebody says donkey? No, they don't know. And so Jason harasses me a lot about this. A droid referred to by name? I guessed yes. I might be wrong. We'll see. A ship will fire upon another ship. We have infiltration and extraction. I think there's a high probability of seeing a ship fired upon at least in episode 7. At least. Extraction? Come on now. Right? Somebody's getting out. Of course they're going to get fired upon. And we'll see in the fill in the blanks. In the predictions, we've seen where maybe the Marauder gets bloated up. Right? It gets bloated up. So that could be, I don't think it'll be these 2 episodes, but maybe. I've been wrong. I'm wrong frequently, but we'll see. A ship firing upon another ship, infiltration, maybe you sneak in, but you're going to get shot at on the way out. So I'm not certain. I think I said yes to this one as well, just hedging my bets. I think the chances are better that we have a ship fire upon another ship in both of these episodes. We see Wayland, Mount Tantus. Maybe not, my friends. And I have to check my answer. I think I said no. Let's see. Does this say who said no? Let's see. Responses. Now, who said no? Did I say no? I'm not sure. I have to go and look. You know what? I could tell. I could just go here. I can look at the sheet and see. What did Santa say? I think I said no to Tantus. Wayland. Yeah, I said no. That's me. So when you see this answer here, it says we'll see Wayland Mount Tantus. This one, that's Santa. I said no because I think that we are still following the batch. There's going to be a point, and I think it might be episode 7. No, 8. Episode 8, perhaps 9 or 10 even, where we're going to see Tantus again. But I think right now we're following the batch. And infiltration extraction are either going to be them going into a facility to get information. It won't be Tantus because they're still trying to figure out where Tantus is. They don't know about Wayland yet. Infiltration extraction, if it's at some place, some Empire facility to get information, that's not Tantus. If it's the Empire infiltrating a place, that's not Tantus either. So, and what the people are betting is that we're going to see Hemlock, and Hemlock's going to be talking about what they need to do and giving orders, and that Hemlock will be on Tantus when he does that. I could be wrong, but this is my logic for saying no. Infiltration extraction's either happening in a facility not Tantus, or it's happening at, say, Pabu and not Tantus. So Santa says no. Bounty Hunter shows up. This is where I've got just a little bit of information on 6 and 7. These 2 questions, a bounty hunter shows up or a named character from another show shows up. These answers are no, right? I'm telling you all straight up. These questions are no. The answers to 6 and 7, at least through episode 8. Oops. Santa's not answering that phone call right now. At least through episode 8, we don't see these happen, right? So this is where I have just a little bit of information, and that's all the information I have, my friends. I don't know anything else. I just was from people who have seen them said, "Hey Santa, no and no." Like, okay, so I share with you what I know. No and no. 6 and 7, no. That's the answer. The bounty hunters will have to wait until episode 9 at least before they show up. And I would say that includes Ventress. Ventress would be at earliest episode 9. We're going to have to wait. So if you answer yes to either of those, you've been warned. I've told you. Look, the answer is no and no. Question 8. Someone will use the Force. I don't have a direct answer to this either. All I know is that we're likely to see Ventress use the Force. And if Ventress, if the question 6 and 7 is no, question 8 is going to be no as well, until we get at least Ventress to show up. Rex ain't using the Force. Neither are Wrecker or Hunter. Right? They're not using the Force. And you know who else isn't using the Force? Omega. That's right. Omega. She's not using the Force either. so there you go. Q-Bello. That's good. My friend Quentin. Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. It's never established that Omega has a high M count. In fact, we have no evidence whatsoever in show, in any content, that Omega has a high M count. You know what Omega does have? Her blood has the ability to receive M count transfusions without degradation. So that's all we know. In fact, all of the experiments that were happening on Wayland, in Tantus, those were happening with the vials of blood, right? They were taking blood and then they were doing the transfusions with the blood. And you can see that in that little spherical machine that they had. They were dripping blood in there, or they're dripping transfusions in there, and then measuring, right? So there you go. She does not necessarily have a high M count, and all of the reports coming out of the people who have seen the screeners, nope. Omega does not show any kind of what is that, sensitivity to the Force, nor does she show any ability with the Force. If at any point she does get the ability, be later in the season, and I suspect it would maybe be with Ventress being around or something in a moment of very high adrenaline. But she's been in those situations before and hasn't used the Force. And the story is more about her blood being capable of maybe taking a transfusion from, say, Palpatine. But so far, they've only done the experiments on her blood, not on her. So someone uses the Force. I think it's got to be Ventress or a character from another show, say like Ahsoka or Grogu, right? And at least through the 8 episodes, that's not happening. So 6, 7, and 8, I believe, all fit together. And my answer on question 8 is no, at least until we get to episode 9. Then maybe it'll change, right? Question 9, a flashback scene. When we talk about infiltration, we haven't seen a flashback to this point in the show, and I don't think we will. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say no until it happens, and then I'll get it wrong. Unless somebody calls me, right? If somebody who knows sends me a message and say, "Hey, Santa, shh, I got a secret. Guess what?" And I say, "What?" "There's a flashback in the next episode." I say, "Oh, thanks." Then I'll say yes and maybe get it right, unless they lie to me and just make me get it wrong anyway. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. Same for question 10. A species or droid talks in another language with subtitles. That's a Star Wars-y thing. We've seen that throughout Star Wars in all different eras and content. We have yet to see it in this season of this show. But that's not to say we won't. But we've seen it all over the place. We're just not here. So I continue to say no to this as well until I'm proven wrong. So the fill in the blank questions. This is where you can earn bonus points. And if you look on the form, you'll see when you fill it out that there's descriptions about how you can earn points. There's 0 points for things that are disallowed, but there's 1 point for the give me questions, 5 points if you come out with a prediction of something very specific that has not shown up in a trailer or a leak, nothing like that, right? It's not been in an article online. It's not public knowledge. It's not something obvious. If you come up with a prediction that is a very specific and not already given to us, you can get 5 points. So there you go. I see some messages coming in. I'll get to those in just a moment. So far, just as an example, we have 4 predictions for infiltration tonight. The first one, we see Pabu in this episode. That's a 1-pointer. Right? We've been to Pabu. We've seen Pabu in the trailers. If we go back to Pabu, 1 point. Second question, Project Necromancer will be mentioned. Oh, this one's a good one because we know Project Necromancer is out there. We haven't seen it in a trailer. It's pretty specific. This could be better if it were a little more defined, but I would give 5 points to this one. If they mention specifically, they have to say by name, Project Necromancer. If they just talk about the project or the whatever, when they don't say the word necromancer, it's a 1-pointer. If they say if they say necromancer, I'll give you 5 points. Whoever said that. We visit Mount Tantus. That's another 1-pointer. Even though I don't think it's going to happen tonight, we know that Mount Tantus is already established in the show. We've seen Mount Tantus in trailers. We have every expectation that we'll see Mount Tantus again. So that's a 1-pointer. The last one, Pabu is attacked by the Empire. 1-pointer. We've seen that in the trailers. So that's how the predictions go. That we've covered infiltration. We'll get back. We've covered infiltration. We'll get back to extraction in just a moment. But there's a couple of chats I'd like to highlight. First is from Quentin. It says, with them trying to tie this back to Rey's dad in a way, I wouldn't be surprised if they tie in the end of The Last Jedi to Omega finding the ability to use it. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I would be surprised. Because there's been little kind of indications here and there that Omega might be using the Force in a kind of tacit way, similar to we think of Anakin in the Phantom Menace. He had never heard of the Force before. He didn't know a thing about being a Jedi. He didn't know what he was doing. He just knew when he flew the pod racers, he was the best pod racer that was around, especially for a human. He didn't specifically know, well, it's because I've got the Force. I've got high midichlorian count, and I can predict when things are getting ready to happen. I have foresight. He didn't know none of that. It was just a natural ability because his midichlorian count was so high. There's some speculation that Omega has a similar kind of thing going on where she maybe has a high M count or a high midichlorian count. And because of that, her intuition, her ability to intuit what anybody is thinking or feeling, or like playing a game of sabacc or whatever, that she's able to excel at those things because her midichlorian count is so high, and it just is a natural ability that exudes from that. Would she ever use telekinesis to move an object, right? Or would she ever be able to observably use the Force to do something like super speed run or super jump or anything like that? Use the Force kick like Luke did in Return of the Jedi. We don't know. I would be surprised if she did any of that in this season. If Omega's story continues beyond the Bad Batch, it would not surprise me whatsoever to see her perhaps study with, say, Asajj or Ahsoka or somebody like that. And much like we saw Sabine develop her ability to use the Force because she was trained and taught and mentored over years, right? We might see Omega do the same thing. However, if Omega leaves with Fennec Shand or Boba Fett, let's say Boba Fett shows up and he takes his sister to go with him, there's very little chance then that she would ever be mentored by somebody who would teach her how to tap into the Force to do these other abilities. So I don't think we'll see that. And as far as that goes, Quentin, I'm trying to tie into Rey's dad in a way. I don't know. At least not a direct path. They're just trying to figure out how now to transfer midichlorians from one subject to another. And we know decades later, by the time we get to the by the time we get to the Mandalorian in the Mando era and Dr. Pershing, that they know how to transfer midichlorians, but the subjects don't do very well at retaining it. And then we know by the time we get to the sequel trilogy and Rise of Skywalker, and we learn a little more about Rey, that they were cloning Palpatine. In those clones, not every single one of those were even Force sensitive. Many of those did not maintain their midichlorian levels. Rey's dad, for example, didn't maintain his midichlorian levels, and that's who he was kind of discarded. Said, "Shoo, go figure out life." Right? Just go. See ya. And he married somebody, had a child, and that child then was highly Force sensitive. So it skipped a generation, if you want to follow it that way. Well, there's also some speculation about Snoke. We still don't know the full story about that Strand cast. We still don't know how he comes about, and if that's going to be the thread that maybe ties back to Omega. But I still think there's a gap between Snoke and Rey, and Rey's dad, Palpatine's clone. Because Palpatine's clone is not, I don't think Snoke is a Palpatine clone. I think Snoke is whoever Snoke is. And he may be a clone of himself that they use because he has a high, maybe he has a blood type similar to Omega's where it can accept transfusions of midichlorians, and it ends up disfiguring him, which seems to be the problem that Pershing's dealing with. But at this point, is that the transfusions end up breaking down the host. Right? they can't handle it. So I think that there's still a gap between Snoke and Rey's dad, but they're definitely tying into the sequel trilogy. We're getting there. Hello, Trucker Mark. He says, I'm at a new company. And if you guys don't know, Trucker Mark's out west, like Colorado kind of area. And not only that, he looks a little bit like me. And he dipped his toe in this last year to be a Santa Claus. And so he is part of the community. He's part of the brotherhood of real bearded Santas out there. And just jumped into the water there. It says, I'm with a new company, dedicated run from Vegas to Minnesota and back. Oh, that's great, Trucker Mark. If you've been involved with the trucking industry at all, you know, long haul truckers end up, there's kind of two variations in a broad sense. One are just your point to point guys. They travel all over North America, sometimes into Mexico, taking loads from point to point. And then when you get to wherever you're going, they find you another load and it takes you to a different point. And maybe you make your way home every week or two because you may have traveled all around the country before you make it back. And there's cases where some of those guys don't make it home for weeks upon weeks. But a dedicated run, here he's saying he's going out to Minnesota, turning and coming back to Vegas. So he gets to be back home every day or two, every other day, I'm going to guess. Vegas to Minnesota is going to be a full day run and then turn and come back. So good to see you, Trucker Mark. Thanks for stopping in. Quentin, right. She's got some good instincts. Could be force-based. Yes, could be. Could be. What else? Strandcast business. There you go. There you go. That's all the things. So let's talk a little bit about extraction. We talked about infiltration. Let's go through extraction kind of real quick here. And we'll go through the same prediction questions. We'll spend some time this time on the fill in the blanks. We'll see what people wrote and give you guys, again, an example of how you can fill in the blank and maybe get some bonus points if you would like to play the predictions game. So let me share my screen again, and we'll walk through here. Someone will mention following orders being extracted, probably less of a chance than in infiltration. If you're going to be talking the batch into going into someplace, then they would only be following orders, and Omega may be making the case for why they should do it. Extraction's more about getting the job done, getting out of there, and there may be less of a chance. Still saying there's a chance that they mention it. Someone will be killed, a non-droid. I think the chances are high. In extraction, I think the chances of a clone or a trooper or some imp getting shot, maybe a ship blowing up with people in it, a pilot, I think it's much higher in extraction. So I think the chances here, someone killed a non-droid, would be yes. A droid referred to by name, it's a toss-up. I agree, I think, with the majority here who say probably not in extraction, but there very well could be a call out, Gonky, we need your help. Boom, mentioned. and then you have it. A ship fire upon another ship. Look, 100% of the people who have done the predictions, there's only 4, but 100% think yes. There's a good chance in extraction there would be a ship firing upon a ship. I agree. Of course I do, because my predictions are in here. We see Wayland, Mount Tantus. I've already told you, I still think the chances are no. If we see Mount Tantus, the chances, I think, are higher in episode 6, Infiltration, where we see maybe orders coming from Hemlock at Tantus saying, go attack Pabu, something like that. Extraction is going to be all about the business of getting out. I think there's very little chance of seeing Wayland Tantus in episode 7. So I told you episode 6, my answer was no. Let's take a look. Episode 7, if we go across Wayland Tantus, Santa still says no. Santa still says no. There you go. You can see I said no to somebody mentioning following orders. I said yes to somebody being killed, no to a droid, yes to a ship, and no to Wayland. So I'm telling you guys my thought process going in. You can agree or disagree with me when we go through the predictions tomorrow. We'll see how it all plays out. The next, a bounty hunter. I've already explained. The question 6, question 7, and likely question 8 are tied together very strongly, especially 6 and 8, in my opinion, 7 and 8 as well. The answer to all 3 of these is no. No, no, and no. That's the answer. That's not speculation, my friends. Speculation a little bit on 8, but it's highly informed. 6 and 7, that's not speculation. I'm telling you straight up. The answer is no and no. If you say yes, you got it wrong, right? So here, 50% of people got it wrong. 50% got this one wrong too. That's not the answer. Question 8 is speculation. I'm saying no. That's probably no. A flashback scene, probably no. And a species talking another language, I'm also going to say probably no. Hey, Real Ben Maynard, good to see you. Says, hope you had a great stream getting here late from lunch. He still made it. Thank you for that, Real Ben. And Skywalker's Academy, Nick. Hello, Nick. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for dropping in. So that's my logic for all of those, you guys. No, no, and no. From question 6 through 10, my answer is no. Straight down the line. No, 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 no. And then we get into the bonus question. Let's take a look. Again, I said we see Pabu in this episode. I don't know in what capacity. And I don't know what's being infiltrated. I don't know who's being extracted. I didn't know what to guess. So I put, we see Pabu. I don't know if it's a starting point and a return point. I don't know if it's being infiltrated and they're extracting from. I'm just guessing that there's a chance we see Pabu. I went for 1 point on my bonus. I'm going for 1. The answer to that is if we see Pabu, it's a 1-pointer. One of the Bad Batch will get injured. Oh, that's a good guess. And is that a 5-point guess? I don't know. It depends how they get injured, doesn't it? There is a scene in the trailer where one of the batch is sort of on a bank of a stream or a little body of water of some sort, and a great big alligator-looking critter comes and grabs them, hauls them in. That would be injured, but from a trailer. If this is getting injured some other way, not like tripping and, twisting an ankle, but actually in a different way, I would say that's probably a 5-point. That's probably a 5-point prediction. If it's something we see in a trailer, probably a 1-pointer. I think we see more arguments between Crosshair and Hunter. There's a good example of a natural thing. It was not in a trailer or any kind of leaks, but it's a natural story point that just follows. If we see them kind of arguing, kind of some tension amongst them, that's a 1-pointer. It's 1 point. That's not a specific. If you were say, Crosshair argues with Hunter about returning to Wayland or Tantus, there's a specific thing. And if they said that, 5 points. The two of them arguing, 1 point. And the batch ship is destroyed. Talking about the Havoc Marauder being destroyed. We've seen that in a trailer. Right? We've seen it get bloated up. If that happens, and I say bloated up on purpose, you guys, it's an old thing, comes from my kids and all of that. I'm old. We've had kids when they were little girls. They would say, "Oh, they got bloated up." So we say bloated up all the time. So if you see the Havoc Marauder bloated up, blown up, then that comes from the trailer. That's a 1-pointer. I think it's likely in episode 7 to still be no, not yet. So probably a 0-pointer because it's not going to happen yet. I think you jumped the gun. But we'll see. Maybe it does get destroyed in this episode and say it is just wrong. So that's how the prediction game is played, my friends. Again, the links to both of these forums are in the description of this video. You can find it there. And before I forget, and while I'm thinking about it, we always like to close out the show, and I'll continue to answer your chat if you guys are still participating in the chat. If I see a chat come up, we'll continue to talk just a little bit. But we close out every show with a Mike Porter dad joke. And the link to Mike Porter's Twitter X account is in the description of every single video I do, whether I remember to do a Mike Porter dad joke or not, and whether that's a Star Wars dad joke or not. Mike Porter is he is the chosen pun. He shows up in many of our streams. He's a good friend. He's a really good friend. Lives down in Georgia. We don't hold that against him, but we love him. We love Mike, and he does these dad jokes, and I particularly enjoy them. And so I inflict them upon you, whether you like them or not. So the Mike Porter dad joke today, I saw him post it on Meg's Discord. He said, "What do you call new tiny sprouting flowers?" What do you call new tiny sprouting flowers as we're going into spring? What an appropriate question. What do you call new tiny sprouting flowers? well, they're baby bloomers. Mike Porter, thank you for that, my friend. The Mike Porter dad joke of the day. Appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you for hanging out here with. Oops, I hit a button again. I appreciate you all hanging out with me here as well. I've enjoyed it. Tonight we get the two-parter, infiltration and extraction. I'm anxious to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to doing a watch party tomorrow. We'll go through it together, and we will see you all then. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow as we do our watch party on episode 6 and 7 of the Bad Batch, season 3. So until then, my friends, have a blessed and wonderful day, and ho, 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 Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.